Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to our March 6th lecture. So Farrington Construction, founded in 1977 by David Farrington Sr., focuses on commercial, industrial, institutional, and healthcare projects. David Jr. began working at his dad's company from the beginning, eventually purchasing it in 2015 when his father retired. His son Jack joined the business in 2016, making Farrington Construction a true family business. PTV Spaces was formed in 1999 as a company to purchase older buildings and rehab them into unique office environments. Currently, BTV Spaces owns and manages approximately 400,000 square feet of mixed-use commercial, office, and retail space. David is a Burlington native and a UVM graduate. In his spare time, he plays golf and enjoys being a Vermont history buff. So can you please join me in welcoming Dave Farrington?
Thank you. Returning to the scene of the crime here. I was here, was it 24, I think? January of 24, so 2 years ago. Since then, we're now fourth generation. We got 3 grandkids in the last year and a half. Hopefully they're going to get the construction bug and follow the lead. So yeah, those last couple of years, since I was here last, we've completed the first phase of the project, and I think I can spin down to a site plan. Oops. Real quick. So I showed this, I think, the last time. We built the south building over the last 3 years, and that's the new white building that's on Bank Street that we opened up this fall. We opened up the hotel in July or August, and we've slowly finished the apartments above and had those all done by the end of this year. Got 45 of the 53 apartments rented out right now. Opened up a restaurant on the corner of Bank and the new St. Paul Street. It's called Jitters Cafe, and we're starting another fit up in the middle of the building on the ground floor. And so the activity on the leasing side of the retail has been pretty decent. Given everything that's going on in Burlington, people are still out there looking and making the commitment to be there. Oops. So right now we're working on what's called the North Building, and it primarily runs along Cherry Street, and it has 2 wings that come down what's going to be the new Pine Street on the west side of the lot, and the new St. Paul Street that's going to be on the east side of the lot. Just a quick recap, if you weren't here the last time, I gave a little history of how we started. City Place Partners was formed by myself and two guys that I've done a lot of work with over the years. It was Al Senecal and Scott Ireland. You've seen all their trucks around town, the cement mixers with the big cloverleaf on them, and Al's company's called Omega Electric. And so this phase of the construction, we started City Place Partners early 22, and I don't need to go into the dirty history of the property that, resulted in the pit, but we bought the project from Mr. Senex that same year, later in the year, and pulled the original design team together, which was all local designers, Freeman, French and Freeman, and LN Consulting and Hardy Consulting Engineers. Got the whole team together, got all the permits dusted off, got those in the summer of 22. We started digging in the fall of 22, poured some concrete in December. By July, we started putting steel up for the south building. About halfway through that, we had an opportunity to partner with a group out of Massachusetts that were hotel developers and operators. Their name's Jiri hotel management, and we brought them in. They bought a piece of the project, not just the hotel, but became general partners in the whole thing, which was nice. We were looking for somebody that wanted to commit as much as we had committed, like to the whole thing, not just peel off a little piece. So we, between 24 and 25, we got the south building completed. Like I said, by the end of last year, just in December, it was 99% done. Contained 53 apartments, the new Marriott AC hotel, and about 12,000 feet of retail on the ground floor. At the same time that we were working on the south building finishes, we were putting in the foundation and doing the site work for the building on the north. So when it was time to start putting the steel up there, we could go right into it. We didn't have to pause and have a work site under construction. April of 25, the steel showed up again, and that's when the building went up real quick. We got the steel all up by the fall, and now we just poured the last slab inside yesterday. All the exterior walls are getting framed up, so it's going to be a big yellow box like the other one was for quite a while until all the brick goes on. So we're pouring slabs, framing walls, putting the yellow board up, starting the brick. Now the weather's breaking, so we don't have to tent in. The north building, when I show you the site plan again, we've got a Cambria Hotel in one wing. We're doing some student housing suites in another wing, and then all the rest of it will be the range of apartments that we're providing. So the hotel is going to be in the wing that's on the west side, which is the left side of this picture, that runs all the way down the new Pine Street. The student housing is going to be in the smaller wing on the St. Paul Street side, and then kind of the L shape that makes up the rest of the building will all be the variety of apartments. And then in the middle of all the buildings, we call it like the donut hole, parking garage is going to fill in 3 stories between the south building and all the wings of the north building. And that's going to be 1 level below grade, 1 level at the street level that you can pull in on, and then 1 level stacked above it. And then there's a big courtyard. I've got some pictures I'll show after. There's a green roof and a courtyard that's going to fill in between all the buildings. It's going to be outside space for the tenants as an amenity space. It'll have, like bag toss and games and fire pits and picnic tables and pergolas and barbecue grills and all that. So this is what you'll see when you drive downtown now, coming down Bank Street. You'll see the building. It takes up the whole block, built right up to next to the redstone piece that's right on the corner. The Pine Street will eventually pass under the redstone building and connect back up to Cherry Street on the north side. And the St. Paul Street is just a clean shot up the east side of all our buildings, and it'll end at the transit center that's on the last closed piece of St. Paul Street between Cherry and Pearl. But I would imagine, yeah. They probably are having second thoughts about it now, but when they're getting the grid put back together. So there's just a couple of pictures of progress on the north building. Like we said, the steel went up pretty quickly. It went up almost as fast as the south building, and there was 3 times the amount of steel in this building. The contractor that was erecting the steel came from Connecticut, and whereas we had maybe 15 to 20 guys on the south building, there was 50 steel workers putting up the steel in 2 cranes at times. And it just went up quick. Whoops. Help. Oh, there's something on my screen here. Hold on. Not let me. There we go. I got it. So just a couple more pictures taken over the last couple of days. That's a look from the roof of the 11th floor, looking out over the lake in New York. The center picture is a picture of guys pouring the concrete roof of the parking garage, which is where the green roof will be in between the buildings. And then a nice little sunset picture. You can see the two cranes there that were used for putting the steel up. Took these yesterday. You can see there's very little steel exposed now. It's getting all framed in, all the exterior walls, the windows. Those are temporary windows. We did have a tractor trailer load of windows showed up today. The first 100 of 1,400 windows that are going into place. So every one of those little plastic squares, those will be taken out and a real window will be installed in. And this is on, well, the one on the right-hand side is the new Pine Street, and that's just before you'll drive underneath the 100 Bank Street building. This is 100 Bank Street that's at the far end of Bank Street right now, right up next to the Chittenden Bank. And this road will pass underneath where there used to be the entrance to the parking garage. You would come in and drive down underneath the building. We're switching that around, and the road's going to go around the side. And there'll be a new street, new sidewalks on both sides. This is a picture from the south building looking into the courtyard. This is up on the 11th floor also. So looking down, all this area will be, this is where it's going to be a green roof and patio all around. And then these tenants will be able to come out 3 or 4 doors and get out into that plaza. And that's actually 3 stories above the street. So it would be a kind of cool perspective being up there. Inside the building, we're going right at it. As soon as we got some slabs poured, we got to framing the walls inside. So this happens to be in the hotel wing that we're really pushing hard on the schedule because we want to get that open for April of 2027. So the lower picture's what's going to be the lobby area, and this is one of the hallways upstairs, just the patient rooms, or guest rooms. It's going to have a entrance off the corner, the northwest corner of the whole building. There'll be an entrance off Cherry Street and off Pine Street to get into the lounge area, reception area. In that 3-story parking garage that's in between all the buildings. There'll be an entrance off of both St. Paul and Pine Street to get in there. So just a couple more pictures. There's a set of stairs going in the hotel that's going to come from the lobby level up to kind of a mezzanine bar, loungy area on the 2nd floor. I thought this was a cool picture. We put a lift up on the roof of the parking garage last week. That's a 150-foot snorkel lift. Up on the roof. That thing weighs about 50,000 pounds. We had DeMag come in and pick it up and set it on the roof, and it's driving around so we can set all the windows and do the siding and stuff in the courtyard. Some statistics about the north building. The total size of the building is about 480,000 square feet. The first building we built, which I thought was the biggest thing, it was the biggest thing I'd ever done, that was 160,000 feet. And so this is three times that. It definitely feels like it, 3 times that. We've got 53 apartments in the south building. We're building 313 more in the north building. That'll be a mix of studios, 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms. I got this word from Linda Sparks when we were talking about this the other day. The city calls it inclusionary zoning. And she's like, do you mean obtainable zoning? And I said, or obtainable housing? I said, I love that word. It's our affordable component of all the housing that we provide. There's set rates that have to be, are met and based on your income. It's 20% of the housing that we build by city code has to be this obtainable housing, we're going to call it from now on. I love that. But it's, it's for the workforce, the people that are working downtown. And it meets our inclusionary requirements that we worked out with the town. And we're going to try something new in this. It's going to be off-campus, privately managed student housing. It's not specifically to UVM or St. Mike's or Champlain College, but we're building it in a suite concept where it's, say, 4 bedrooms, shared bathrooms, and a shared common living area and kitchen. It looks like a lot of the stuff you'd see on a campus. And we're going to have that ready for June or July of 2027. Yeah, so like I said, it's private bedrooms, so every room will have its own room, its own furniture, lockable. That'll be the lease for the student, and then they share the living room and other facilities. Along Pine, Cherry, and St. Paul, the first floor of the whole project, there's about 24,000 feet of retail space. It can be cut up into 5 to 8 different size units, anywhere from 2,000 feet to some units could be joined. It could be 11,000 feet. But we're using that for laydown space now. Like the windows that came off the truck today, there's a couple hundred windows that are all stacked up on the first floor. So it's going to be the last part of the project that'll get fit up. The Cambria Hotel, which is going to be on the Pine Street northwest corner, that's 150 rooms. And it's a little different than the hotel that we built in the south building. This has got 60 rooms that are extended stay. So they've got extra furniture, they've got a kitchenette. It's a little bigger. There's a space, like a workspace, desk space, and like a meeting table and a couple of chairs. But the market study that our hotel partners did said there's a big demand for that. They also own the Residence Inn in Colchester, and that's mostly extended stay, and they're booked all the time up there. So this is a little different for a downtown hotel, but the market's saying that it's needed, so they're going to give it a shot. And then always the parking issue. Everybody says, how are you going to have enough parking there? We're building the 3 stories. It's 420 cars in the garage. And the lowest level, we're going to park the residential tenants, and they'll have their own elevators up to the upper floors. The primary level off the street is going to be open for public parking, hourly parking, and also like some monthly parking if there's business people, tenants, retail space workers. And then the 3rd floor is going to be dedicated to the 2 hotels, and they're tied into each level of the hotels, so you can drive to the 3rd floor and get to the reception desk of each hotel. There'll be valet meeting you when you show up on the upper floors. We got some inspirational photos of what the hotel's going to look like, and I like this because my guys are real visual. We work off a set of plans like this, but you show them a picture and they're like, I get it. So they're, it's, I think it's an Art Deco theme for the bar, and the lounge is kind of Vermont-y. There's brick and timbers and warm woods and stuff. A lot of people ask about the environmental aspects of the building, and right from the beginning we knew we were going to go LEED rated. It's a national like certification that says you've built to certain standards in terms of energy usage, energy efficiency, thermal performance on walls and roofs and windows. And it says that you'll build to, and I think I have the number right, Luce would know, is it 25% better than the local code? Yeah, so a LEED rated says we're going to not just build the code, which is kind of the minimum that the state requires, but we're going to do 25% better than that. So it's an all-electric building, super efficient air handling units in every apartment. So each tenant's responsible for their own HVAC. There's not like a central plant that somebody just turns the heat on. So if you want it really cool, you can have it cool. You want it hot, you can have it hot. They're super efficient units. It's called an all-in-one, so you get your heat and your cooling, your fresh air requirements out of it, your exhaust. All the hot water makers in the building are electric. Again, it's on the each apartment has its own meter, so you're responsible for and kind of control your own costs. Part of the LEED rating and also our agreement with the city, there's no gas or fuel oil in the buildings. No carbon fuels being used for the heating. The hotels needed gas for their hot water makers and their dryers because they were so big, and actually Burlington Electric couldn't provide enough power to the building. So we would have needed like another 4,000 amp service just to feed those hot water makers and the dryers in the building, and would have cost the town and then us another $3 million or so to get the substation upgraded and all that. So that's the only gas that's being used in the hotels. Part of the thermal performance is the walls are super insulated. There's insulation and there's outsulation. There's a full layer of 5 inches of insulation on the exterior behind all the brickwork and the limestone panels that you see, plus the standard insulation that's in all the wood stud framing. All the windows are triple glazed window units, thermally broken frames, which stops the cold transfer in. The roof system, I think code is like an R40. We've got an R60 on the roof system. It's a flat roof with this environmentally friendly foam, if there's such a thing. And then as part of our agreement with the city and also part of the LEED goals is to capture all the stormwater. So you're not just sending it down the street and it's heading into the catch basins and down to the sewer plant. And when you have a big storm, everybody knows what happens in Burlington when you have a big storm. They have to just open up the pipe and you get everything fresh out into the lake. We have tanks that store the stormwater on site. There's 2 tanks, one in the middle of each new street. It holds hundreds of thousands of gallons of water. So you have a huge storm, it all collects there, and then there's a big valve that the city controls, and they'll say, all right, we'll take the water when we're ready for it. So you're not bombing the water treatment plant with all this storm water. And that's kind of a new standard. That's going in a bunch of projects around town where they store it and then release it as they're, once the storm's over and the problem's passed. So it stops the overflow or untreated discharge into the lake. A lot of questions, the impact of this project. Upon the completion of it, we're going to have spent about $300 million in the city of Burlington on wages and materials and subcontractors and all that stuff. So that will contribute to the grand list of the city, which unfortunately turns into a big tax bill. But that's what the city needs, some added revenue. So that's a big plus to the development. We're going to have a total now of 366 new units. So more people living downtown, about 700 people, with the potential with the 2 hotels to have another 100,000 visitor nights of people coming to Burlington and getting downtown, going to restaurants and going to shops and buying ice cream cones and all that stuff. Adding the new retail shops, restaurants, offices. already you can feel the change right on Bank Street with the hotel. It's just ramping up right now, but you feel the buzz, the new energy of people in and out of the hotel, and we've got that little restaurant there now, and people visiting that. It's really good to see and feel that, the energy that it brings. And along with all the tourism and sales and stuff, the state and the city get more sales and use tax, 7% downtown. So, and then the little statistics during construction, the 6 years that we're going to be under construction, I forget to put a slash in there. We don't have 150,000 people. We've 150 to 200 people on site every day. And we estimated about, from start to finish, over 3,000 different workers will be coming and going on the site at different times and having their leaving their mark on the building with all the trades. Internally, the partners, we made a big commitment to using local labor, working with local subcontractors. So we've got a lot of, I'd say probably 75% of all the workers down there are local. We're buying as much local product as we can from the local lumber yards and hardware stores and plumbing shops, and then you've got the 150 to 200 guys that are going out. I know Ken's Pizza loves us because they opened up a pizza window on Bank Street, and he has a deal like 2 slices and a can of soda, and the guys line up there at 11:45 to get it. And so I said the breakfast, the coffee breaks, lunches, and beers after work adds to the economy. That's about it. I had another page on there, but it disappeared. It was talking about the schedule. We're actively working. Like I said, we got a couple hundred guys there. We're going to ramp up this summer. There'll probably be about 300 people on site after May when the plumbers gear up and we begin doing drywall. And then it stays real heavy right through all the finishes, flooring and the taping and painting and all that. I talked about the completion dates on the hotel, spring of 27. The student housing will be end of summer 27. And then we're anticipating on turning over maybe 2 more floors, which will be about 60 units every other month as we work our way up the building and finish it. So the student housing's on 2, 3, and 4. So we're going to get that done with the rest of 2, 3, and 4 in the middle of the core. And then every other month we'll turn over 2 more floors and be done end of the year 27. And then we'll probably have a little bit of spring wrap-up work, landscaping, finishing the roads. We're using the roads every single day. Deliveries, cement trucks, cranes, lifts, all that stuff. So we really can't finish the roads till we're all done the project. And then, so probably spring of 2028, finish the roads, get them paved, and then it'll be reopened to the public.
So let's open it up for questions. We have Linda has a mic over there. There might be some people online that have questions or people over here. So let's just take turns going. Maybe we should start with the Zoom for once.
About the parking garage. Will there be sufficient handicap parking, and will handicap parking in the public area be free?
I believe the answer to that is yes. And sufficient parking, it's whatever, I don't know the percentages, but I do know on the public parking level, there's handicap spaces near all the entrances that come into the different buildings on each side. There's handicap parking next to the elevator stops on those floors. We're going to put in 40 or 50 electric vehicle chargers, and that'll be a pay and park and charge type thing. So you can pull in there, swipe your card, you pay for your parking and you get your juice. And that'll be like a short-term, like 2 or 3 hour parking. There'll be hourly parking, just like the last garage that was on Cherry Street. You'll be able to pull in there. This one should be a little nicer, a little brighter, a little cleaner. It's a real open garage. There's a big opening on each level. There's big windows for ventilation, but also lets daylight and fresh air in at each level. Eventually, it'll be in close proximity to the next phase, which is the old mall and LL Bean building. When that gets redeveloped, the plan is to have a kind of a connecting piece, not connecting the buildings, but like a promenade that comes from Church Street through that development onto St. Paul, and then you'll be able to get into this garage right there.
Got a question over here.
When the project is completed in 2028, what do you estimate the tax contribution of the project to the city
You had to ask
will be?
It's going to be probably in excess of $3 million a year. Hoping not too much more, but probably going to be. Right now, we still get tax bills. The city didn't have the opportunity to abate anything. Obviously, you know, there's budget problems. We've asked too. We said, can you cut us a little deal? But right now the taxes are, as is, a little over $1 million a year. And when it's all completed, it should be headed towards 3 or a little more than that.
So the Macy's building is outside the scope of your project, right?
Yes.
And can you speak to its future? How does that factor in?
Yeah, us 3 partners in City Place Partners are still partners with Don Sinex in the mall project and the Macy's project. Not a lot of information on the Macy's project so far. There's a lease with the city, the school district. Their lease ends this year, but they had an option to extend, and I'm not sure if they've, that doesn't have to be executed until like July, so we don't know if they're going to stay an extra year. There was talk about maybe keeping it as is with the classrooms and using it as kind of overflow space in case they wanted to renovate like Edmonds or Champlain or I'm not sure the other name, Barnes or whatever it is on the north end. Because it's all fit up as a school. There's, you know, the classrooms and the cafeteria, and there's a gym there, and so it would make sense to keep it if they wanted to move kids out and do a normal renovation rather than the summer bomb renovations that they like to do. But eventually in the end, that building's probably going to come down. I've seen back from even when it was the Brookfield days, back in the very early days of the project, the Macy's project ended up being like 2 towers, believe it or not, another hotel, and then a residential tower, and a big plaza and kind of gap in the middle so it doesn't mess up the view of everybody that's moving into City Place. So it kind of kept a view corridor with 2 kind of slender towers. But nothing's been put through the city yet for that. You know, the city has hopes that somebody might want to put a auditorium in or some sort of civic center or convention center, but nothing's in the works right now.
Let's see, we'll start.
Since you bought the project, you've had a lot of things thrown at you, like tariffs and increasing interest rates and workforce shortages and all that kind of good stuff.
All that good stuff.
Yeah. How does your $300 million finishing cost estimate compared to what you thought it was going to cost in 2022?
Well, you know the answer to that. That budget was 240 or so, 6 years ago. We dodged a big bullet on the tariffs. I don't know how we did it, but with the first building, the south building, there was very few, and it was just on some furniture and stuff that was coming in at the end of that year. So I bet you we didn't pay $10,000 in tariffs. The north building, we had heard about the tariffs. They were going to come in and say it was, I forget what the date was, May 1st or whatever. We had a really good relationship with our steel contractor who's out of Montreal, and he rushed the job, and we got it on tractor trailers, and we got it delivered to Vermont and stored it out at Ireland's yard. And we had probably 60 tractor trailer loads that we didn't have to pay tariff on. We did have to pay tariff on probably the last 30, and we negotiated with a contractor in Montreal, and we split it with them. So the net to us, it added about $1 million to the price of the north building. We bought out about 70% of the north building while we were still building the south building. So we had commitments on all kinds of, on the steel for the garage, all the furniture that's going into the new hotel. We got basically contracts on drywall, metal studs. So we've worked around the tariffs a little bit. We'll still see some, I'm sure, when we get packages that come in from, there's going to be some, electrical gear comes from Mexico. And we don't even have that quoted yet, the final price on that. But we'll have some. The bank was very concerned about it, so they had us fund an allowance amount, a contingency fund to deal with them. And then as it comes in, we evaluate all the invoices and draw off that contingency fund to allocate for tariffs if we get hit with them. Thanks.
Thank you for doing this. I think it's the best thing that's happened in Burlington in many years, and have great hopes it's going to revitalize our downtown. I'm interested in what kind of arrangement you have on the student housing. You're calling it student housing, but the configuration, for rooms with a shared living space and kitchen could be very attractive to young professionals
It could be.
and older people who want to live out of town. I'm using myself as an example, who live out of town and have often thought a little pied-à-terre in Burlington would be nice for the
You
evening
want to live with 3
entertainment.
college kids?
Well, that's the thing. Do you have commitments to the colleges?
No, we don't.
I mean,
That's I said, it's a little bit of a risky experiment on our part, but so we spent a lot of time trying to talk to UVM and Champlain. Everybody's finances are a mess right now. Nobody could commit to it, but they all said, oh, that's such a great idea. And we'll send people your way. So we're going to do marketing with both of the Res Life departments at UVM and Champlain. So our flyer will be there, and they'll offer it as options to the kids. Say, hey, go check this out. UVM would love to do it, but they just, they had the president that left, and the guy that we were dealing with primarily, he left. And we reactivated our talks with them, but they've just got so much on their plate with everything else that's going on. But we're still going to build it, and it's still going to be there if they want to talk. It's, we're still 1.5 years away, so. Open ears.
What kind of private on-site security will there be?
In the south building, the front door is staffed 24 hours a day. There's a valet service that runs the hotel, or it's run for the hotel. So they deal with that. In the north building, there won't be the same entrance. There's going to be an entrance to the apartments, and the hotel's going to be over there. So we're going to have a building kind of concierge person at the front desk. There'll be an office right when you walk in. Everything we heard from tenants when we did marketing studies was security, 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 keeping people from wandering off the street. So you have to flash your badge or your fob probably 4 or 5 times to get your apartment, to get in the door, to get through the next door, to get into the elevator. Once you get off the elevator, each floor has an elevator lobby that's locked down, so you can't, even if you got to the lobby following somebody up, you couldn't go through the next door and then ultimately going into your apartment. There's electronic locks on all that. So, and there's, just in the south building, I think there's 22 or 24 cameras that they're in the stairwells. They're looking at every corner. We have them all on the perimeter of the building. So it's pretty tight.
Do you have any plans, once the final phase is finished, to have a celebration, both for the city and maybe for the workers as well?
I don't know if we've planned that yet. I know what I'm going to do. I'm jumping in my RV for a couple of months and gonna take some time off. Yeah, I'm sure. We had, there was a kind of a ribbon cutting grand opening for the first hotel. There'll be something similar for the next one, and for the apartments, you know, we had the former mayor Moreau came, and the new mayor Emma was at both of those events. So yeah, it will be something to celebrate for sure.
It's worth celebrating.
Yeah.
This is not a very romantic question, but I just wonder if the city of Burlington is prepared for all these new apartments that are up on Market Street and downtown in terms of sewage disposal, trash disposal, traffic, all of that, especially sewage.
Yeah, I can speak to the sewage part, because we put in dedicated sewer lines, and there's sewer lines and storm lines, and they're not mixing as it leaves our building. The city still has a ways to go on really separating it when it gets down to the waterfront, but all the stuff that happened on Main Street last year, they're breaking off the sewer pipes that come out of the buildings to dedicated pipes to get, eventually, there's going to be the dirty pipe going to the treatment plant, and then stormwater will go through these different settling tanks like we have. So we have filter tanks in the street, and it takes out the sediment and sludge, oil, whatever, and so semi-decent water's coming out of it at least. I don't know.
They're adding space at Perkins Pier, I've been told. I don't know how.
Yeah, I mean, the sewer treatment plants they'll have to grow with the city over time.
Well, you're also removing that runoff water.
Yeah, we're capturing all our roof drains, all the sidewalk drains, the floor drains in the parking garage, all go to tanks, and they settle any sediment and sludge out and stay on site until the city can deal with it.
We got another Zoom question back there.
Will the rental apartments have handicapped accessible bathrooms?
Yes. There's some percentage, I don't know the number, but some percentage are built handicap accessible, so they have the roll-in showers. That's the same with all the hotel rooms. A certain percentage have to be fully handicap accessible. Like I said, the roll-ins, the wider doors, all the turning radiuses, and then there's a second piece to the accessibility, and it's called adaptable. So you change out like the oven and take a base cabinet out in like the sink base, so you can roll up to the sink, and they're set just a couple inches lower at, I think it's 2'10" rather than 3 foot. And that's say it's like 10% have to be handicap accessible and 10 are adaptable. And it's all built to those standards.
Your total project is going to require a lot of electricity
Yeah.
because so much is dependent upon that. Could you say more about that? Are you going to generate any yourself, or do you have a special deal with Burlington Electric?
Oh, I wish we did, but no.
Yeah. Could you say a little more about
There will be solar on top of all the roofs. I think our study came in, we were going to have about 400 and something, on the low side of 400 kilowatts of, so there's the whole north building's roof is covered with it, and a good portion of the south building's roof is covered with it.
Hi, I'm really excited about the idea of having the building be LEED Gold certified. What was the cost premium for that? And since the tenants pay their own electricity, how did that benefit the developer? I'm just curious about how this is working.
The total like upcharge on it, you're saying? Not as much as it used to be. People used to like run away from, oh, it's going to be LEED, it's going to be 30% more. A lot of stuff that's just standard equipment now these days is already like to those standards of LEED, like the toilets, you know, low flush toilets, all the shower heads are low flow shower heads. There's, you know, all the efficiencies, it's all LED lights, all the fixtures, LEDs, the HVAC is super efficient. There's heat recovery in every single room. Is part of the HVAC unit that's above the ceiling. You don't see it, but it exhausts air from your bathroom and your kitchen, and it mixes with fresh air coming in. And so you salvage the hot that you already made or the cool that you already made, mix it with the air that you're throwing out. Again, the thermal performance of it, I haven't seen any of the bills yet from tenants because we've only have a couple of months of records, but the electric bills are supposed to be quite a bit lower because of the added insulation on the outside walls, the exposures. Everybody has solar shades and privacy shades on all the windows. So if it's a super sunny day, you can put down your solar shade, still look outside, but it just stops the heat gain. And the triple glazed windows also, there's, you know, the whatever the gas is that's in between the panes, argon or whatever, that really knocks a lot of the power out of the sun blaring in and overheating your house. Oh, we had to do it because that's the new zoning standards in Burlington. You had to be LEED rated. And any building over, I think it was 30,000 feet, had to be LEED rated.
I'm just curious, I'm here, curious to know, are all of these just rentals? There's no
Yes.
Nothing to buy in either of those buildings?
No, they're all rentals right now. Complicated answer on that one. Why? Because we thought we were going to kind of break it into some apartments that we would hold for rental and then sell some units off. The financing was, when we went to get financing on the south building, again, bad timing. The world hated construction at that point. Everybody was worried about construction costs, and we're coming out of COVID. So the type of loan that we had to get was called a swap. And so we had a local bank, a community bank, the old Merchants Bank was actually the bank that gave us the construction loan to build the building. But as soon as the building's done, they sell it off 100% to a big, huge bank. And it was PNC was the bank. They're out of Philadelphia. And they roll it up into this big, huge collection of other loans. But they guarantee a certain interest payment to their investors. So we had to sign a 5-year fixed deal. So in 5 years after, we did that in April. So April 25, April 26. So in 2031, when we refinance that term of the construction loan, we have the option of breaking up units into apartments, into condos. We do. We've got a generator like the size of this room. It's crazy. Just because of the nature, it's whole different code. It's an 11-story building, so anything over 8 goes into this high-rise construction. Some of the people we talked to in other cities laugh. They like 11 stories isn't high-rise, but it meets all these codes, and then that requires 100% backup on some systems. We've got the elevators will run during a fire alarm, which is usually it's like don't use the elevators. Well, you can. All the safety lights, exit signs, all that stuff will be backed up on generator. There's circuits that feed. I don't know if you guys remember when we first built there, you saw these big, huge stair towers that were sticking up for months. Those are 3-hour rated stair towers, and the intent is that you could go into those stair towers during a fire and stay. I don't know who'd want to do that, but you could stay in the stair tower, and fresh air is pressurized into the stair tower, so no smoke can infiltrate into the stair tower. I'd be making my way down and out, but technically, and a lot of this stuff is new after the World Trade Centers and all the, the stair towers are all falling in and smoke filled and all that, and so all the life safety systems, the fire alarm works. If the power goes out, the generator kicks on. All the sprinkler alarms are still monitored. The valves open and close as needed, and so there's all the life safety stuff. It's actually that generator's the life safety generator, and then there's a few circuits that we pulled off for other things, like the security system is on it. The cameras will still work. A lot of the doors that are normally locked will unlock because that's part of the code. So you can't impede somebody getting out, or getting in. If the building's on fire, not too many people are running in except the firemen. But all those things stay active during an event. If it's a fire or the fire alarm goes off, the generator comes on and does its thing. And both buildings will have one. The one that we have on the south building was sized just for that, and the one for the north building is 2 or 3 times larger. And those are going to go up on that roof in the middle of the courtyard, hidden behind some fencing and screening and stuff.
Over here. You mentioned the last thing that you'll do is the streets,
Yep.
Pine and St. Paul. Did I hear something recently about something's changed about that? I thought I heard they weren't going to be able to do that.
Those roads will go in. In conjunction with that, they had some upgrade projects to redo Cherry Street and Bank Street, and I guess they were bidding out Cherry Street first, or their budgets that they've gotten back from the engineers put it way over budget, so they're going to delay the Bank Street upgrade for 3 or 4 years and use the money that they were going to spend there to get Cherry Street done, and then that lets us get tied in and completed.
Hi, my question is a little bit more global about the state of business, the business ecosystem downtown, and the fact that a few of the smaller business owners have closed or left for various reasons, like Dear Lucy, I shop shoes, and there's others. And I'm just wondering if this project, in your opinion, living here for so long and building in this area, is your sense that this will help reinvigorate the downtown business, confidence, consumer confidence, and how small business owners feel about the Church Street Marketplace?
Yeah, absolutely. That was kind of one of our goals, why we kind of stepped up and say we had an intervention with Mr. Sinex. Like, he was just locked down, not going to get this thing built. And the reason we were interested in it from the beginning and partners with him is Burlington needed it. It needed the pit to disappear and get some more life down there and get the streets activated. And so that was like one of the big goals on our part, was just to help get that done. The businesses downtown are fragile right now. I own a couple buildings around town, and 2 or 3 restaurants and coffee shops and a card shop and the little pottery shop there and a bakery, and they're all month to month. And you know, COVID, if it didn't put them down, and a lot did. I mean, we've got some office spaces that have been vacant for 3 years. Just people took off and they're not planning on coming back till it gets better. So we have ulterior motives to getting this done, like get those office spaces re-rented and have good, healthy tenants. I mean, there's a coffee shop on Main Street that we have right next to Nectar's that they're hanging on by a thread. And we had to work out a lot of deals with tenants over the years just to say, all right, we know you can't pay your rent, pay what you can, and then we'll kind of try to catch up and come up with some sort of workaround on that. But yeah, it's downtown needs some love. It needs like this and more of this. You know, so that's what we're excited about. Where the old Catholic church was, that's going to be a similar project. We don't have all the details on that, but it's going to be retail around the ground floor, some housing. There's probably going to be some commercial, different variety of housing. We heard there might be some either like 55 plus, or one company is interested in doing an assisted piece of it. There'll be market rate. There's going to be more of this obtainable housing, the inclusionary housing that the city requires. So that whole good mix, and just getting those people down there and on the streets and spending their money, and you know, going out for an ice cream at night or a cup of coffee, grab a pizza, it helps everybody.
First, I want to applaud you and your partners for taking on this project.
Thank you.
But I missed my opportunity to go skating in the pit. I have a question about doing market research and designing these buildings, and do you allow for flexibility to change the floor plan down the road, say if hotels don't pan out to have the occupancy you're looking for, if the student housing component could be used for something else? I know it's always sort of a moving target and you do your best guess, but I'm curious about long-term.
We're very flexible, and just by the example of the hotel coming in, it was never there originally. That was supposed to be 100 units of apartments, and we had this chance to meet these guys that they actually had bought the YMCA. They were going to put a hotel at the YMCA, and then they found out that we had this site downtown, and we were looking for some partners. So we got together with them, and when we took their numbers and meshed them into our numbers, it made the project financeable. The bank was looking at us like we were crazy when we went to them saying, wanted to build 100 apartments, and 20% of them had to be, you know, this inclusionary that the city requires, which just tanks your revenue. And the hotel piece actually made this project happen. But we are flexible, like this woman had said over here, like those suites that we're building. We're calling them student housing. We think that's where there's a need, but it's a bedroom with infrastructure next to it. So it could be, you know, it could be worker housing for nurses get together and each rent a room, or, you know, it could be students. It could be 4 old friends that get together and they want to be around each other, but don't.
Dave, I have 2 quick questions.
What's that?
One is, is there adequate parking? Because 450 parking spaces doesn't sound like enough. And the other one is, what kind of retail are you going to have? Adequate parking.
So the parking question is kind of a pet peeve of ours. When, if everybody remembers the history, the project got sued by Mr. Franco, John Franco, and stalled it for a couple of years, and it was over parking. We had more parking, and part of the settlement with the Franco opposition was to take a level off the parking garage. We had another 150 spaces designed in the project, and the city kind of was a mediator during this lawsuit and mediation, and one of the end results was we took a whole level, the top top floor off the garage. The city loved the idea of that. They hate cars downtown, so we lost 150 spaces, but it's going to be tight. But we still think that we've got on the lower level. I think we have 220 or 30. The hotel shares 140 or 60 of them, and those numbers are again tight for them. But we always have the second floor for overflow if they need it. And you can always go to any city garage. It's half full or half empty these days and park if we need overflow. Right now, we're parking our tenants that are in the south building at the Lakeview garage, which is behind Hotel Vermont. So we're paying for the parking. We lease them parking spaces there until they can have their spot in our garage. And the hotel is parking in the Key Bank parking lot. That's kind of behind that Key Bank building and the old Merchants Bank and on that corner on St. Paul. And they run their valet from there.
All right, I think that's all we have time for. Thanks a lot,
Okay.
Dave. Thanks for the update.